This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they about to stampede.
Sauce Gardner and how you say his first name? Asante Samuel.
Yeah.
On the spaces, and brought in Gardner-Johnson as well. So I mean, it's getting pretty spicy. Did you hear about that, Jeremy? Or
I saw a bunch of the tweets. I didn't know that it went to spaces. That's pretty cool. I love drama, especially in sports.
BT, you want to fill us in the drama? Because I know a little bit about it, but not much.
So let me tell you what happened. So basically, what happened was Asante Samuel first started and saying that Sauce Gardner shouldn't have essentially been an All-Pro, and that was New York media that was hyping everyone up, and that's why he became All-Pro. And personally, I agree with that. Right? Like, I'm not saying he's not talented. Sauce Gardner is completely talented, no doubt about it. But I think that other individuals didn't get their flowers because the Jets are in New York, and you're going to get that type of media. So if you look at Tariq Woolen, he had 6 interceptions. He had a great season, but no one's really talking about him because he's from Seattle. I said the same thing about Jalen Petrie. I feel like he should have been at least a Pro Bowler, but he didn't get looked at because he's a Texan. Texans won 3 games. Who's looking at the Houston Texans? Last season. Yes, he got 145 tackles and 5 interceptions. I think Sauce got 2? So 2 interceptions. So yeah, I do think even though Sauce is great, that this is something I agree with Asante Samuels. But then he went on a little too far. So then he said, what's up with Revis? Like, why is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, you're really gonna say a Hall of Famer? And now when it went back and forth, where Revis is like, this guy's not a Hall of Famer, he's pissed. Then it went to spaces. So Darius Slay started a space. He ended in about 10 minutes. Sauce Gardner started up again. Why? Because CJ Gardner, who got released, Gardner-Johnson, he got released, right? And him and Sauce were going back and forth at it. And on the space, and the reason, and Gardner-Johnson was calling Sauce, listen, son, and Sauce was getting all that. It's like, watch with the S word, watch with the S word. So basically, they're all talking about who's the best DB, why they're getting the flowers, and essentially it was some DBs were saying you're not as good as everyone says you are because of New York, and Sauce is like, I can't control where I got drafted, I just play, and so that's really what the drama was. So I can understand his side of it, but I understand the beginnings of what Asante Samuel says, which is Sauce Gardner, who really wasn't getting called on his holding calls, right? They let a lot go. I think he gets a lot more attention because it's from New York. And I think that if other players like Tariq Woolen, Jalen Petrie didn't get their flowers because of where they were either drafted to, where they played, etc. And that's really what it started. And it went to Twitter Spaces where 10,000 people were listening, literally 10,000 people. So it was kind of just interesting to see, this is kind of better than Hard Knocks because it's no editing. People just screaming at each other, talking about their feelings live. So you should definitely pay attention every once in a while.
So 10,000 people. How come they didn't sell tickets and hold this inside of Madison Square Garden?
Right? They sold out.
They missed an opportunity here.
Well, they did say they was coming to Houston. They did say that part.
Did they?
Oh yeah.
Toyota Center. Let's go round 2. Let's sell some tickets. Let's get some people inside. Let's get a gate. Right. I agree with the macro approach. I agree with the macro take. Like, I think you're naive if you don't think that New York athletes get more cachet than pretty much everywhere else. You bring up the Jalen Petrie example. It's a good one. The Woolen example. It's a good one. I don't know if I disagree. I don't know if I agree with the micro. Like, I think Sauce Gardner was an All-Pro. Do I think Jalen Petrie's a Pro Bowler last year? I think it's debatable, but I don't think he was a snub. So I agree with the big picture take that New York athletes get, I don't want to call it special treatment. Let's say more media attention, but I don't agree with the micro take about, Sauce Gardner being a non-all-pro, or especially not the Revis one. I mean, Revis is probably the best corner we've seen since Dion. Is that fair to say?
Champ Bailey. I mean, there's a couple,
top tiers, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, at least top 5 all time, right? Easily.
I don't know so much about like the old days, right?
From a stat point of view, if you compare Asante, Samuel has more interceptions, forced fumbles, and touchdowns. But Revis has more Pro Bowl appearances. more All-Pro selections, more fumble recoveries and tackles. So
I struggle with individual stats in the NFL because, like, if you're a cornerback and you get a lot of interceptions, that means they're throwing at you, right? And if you're a good corner, they're probably not throwing at you.
See, right? So
that's tough.
And also the longevity too, right? I think Asante Samuel played I think 20 or 30 more games than Darrelle Revis did. So I mean that's kind of unfair, right? Like you gotta be on the field to produce stats. So if he's on the field more, then he's gonna get more stats. It's just how the game goes.
But don't we appreciate longevity? Right. Like no, I appreciate longevity.
Yeah,
and it's good for Barry Sanders.
Yeah, Barry Sanders, Earl Campbell, Calvin Johnson. I mean, look at those guys. They're Hall of Famers as well.
I have a wild take when it comes to sports. You want to hear
it? Let's hear it.
I think there's a difference between best players of all time and best resumes of all time. Like, I think this is the perfect example for this. Right. Emmitt Smith has a better resume than Barry Sanders.
Right.
Was Barry Sanders a better player than Emmitt Smith? I would argue that he was. Like you mentioned Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson was a better player than a lot of these guys that are going to go to the Hall of Fame because of longevity. So longevity absolutely matters. It just depends on what the conversation is, right? Are we talking the best resumes ever, Tom Brady? Or are we talking about the best players ever? I think a lot of people would argue that Peyton Manning was a better quarterback than Tom Brady. But Brady has a way better resume.
You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they about to stampede.